You have a couple posts on what I would say is being a contrarian. My favorite thing.
I'm shocked.
My favorite thing. And one was quite simple. The crowd is probably wrong.
Crowd is probably wrong.
I think I live by that.
Yeah.
And probably is giving them too much credit.
Yeah, much too much credit. The crowd is wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the second one was avoid the pitfalls of groupthink. We live in a culture of obsessive groupthink where counter opinions are dismissed, shouted down, and canceled. But that doesn't mean those canceled opinions are wrong. Usually the opposite. We have become so obsessed with the approved groupthink that it is bleeding into our business and impacting decision-making skills, especially for younger Gen Y heavy teams. It's poisonous. Kill it quickly.
Boy, nothing like having your own post read back to you.
The violent nature of
killing.
Yes.
I never really look at myself as a contrarian, but I can tell you that I am seeing myself as a contrarian more and more in culture. And honestly, it's not political. It's about common sense. And I think the world has lost its mind on a number of things, and it bleeds into business to where we're making blatantly wrong decisions in business because we're afraid of the approved groupthink. I'll give you a really good example. Obviously, remote work became a thing in COVID. I am of the opinion that it's impossible to build an effective culture and lead an effective team remotely, right? I want my team here, right? I actually believe that most CEOs and most leaders agree with me on that. So why is remote work still a thing? Not as a convenience. I'm not talking about working one day at home. I'm talking there are still teams that are 100% remote from quote unquote COVID, right? Why is that still happening? Well, because the groupthink is that you have to be supportive of remote work. The groupthink is it's the only way forward. The groupthink is everyone wants this. The reality is everyone doesn't want it. And most leaders I know that it's damaging morale on their team, and it's damaging culture on their team, and it's damaging efficiency on their team. As a fiduciary to my business, I'm actually returning less to my shareholders in value because my team's remote. A whole bunch of these things come into play, but we're so focused on the groupthink, which is remote work good, in-person work bad, right? And I don't know, people can agree or disagree with that. It's one example of where the cultural groupthink has totally enveloped the proper ability of leaders to make decisions in their business, right? You see leaders starting to get a little more power now as the pendulum is shifting one after another. Like you're coming back to the office, Starbucks, you're back in the office, Amazon, you're back in the office, Apple, you're back in the office, right? And you're seeing the hue and cry over that. But what you're seeing is people getting back to, okay, like the group is wrong. I need my people back in the office, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to make the right business decision. I've for a long time really thought that culture was moving in a bad spot in terms of our ability to agree to disagree with people and be friends with people that have different opinions. I grew up in a house that debated everything and had opinions about everything, and were loud Italians and got heated about everything. But, this concept of I can't be friends with you because we voted for somebody different, or I can't be friends with you because we disagree, that is like cultural poison. Our ability to not be friends with people, like it's really like I don't even have the words. Like I'm sitting here like we've gone down this road very rapidly in this country where discourse, it's no longer about discourse. It's no longer about human beings and me being friends with you. I have no idea who you vote for. Like I couldn't care less, right? Like why has this become a touchstone? All of these issues politically in this country they've invaded our ability to work with people, be friends with people, build long-lasting relationships, actually have meaningful, deep relationships. Billy won't go to Sally's backyard barbecue because, of who Sally voted for or what Sally believes about whatever the issue of the day happens to be, whatever the license plate logo is, right? This is crazy in this world, right? It impacts the ability to work with people and understand people and have empathy for people, right? And to me, this comes back to this groupthink thing. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. It's actually the biggest fear that I have for my son, that we live in an environment where there's an inability to agree to disagree. And I vividly remember a conversation that I had on my front steps with a neighbor, and my political views are widely all over the map. So some of the things I solidly agree and might be
As
more,
most people should be, by the way. We've become a little tunnel visioned.
yeah. And there are things that whatever side of the aisle he's on, I'm probably even further than him on that. And then, but I'm on the other side of the aisle on some other things. And the discussion that this person was having with me made it very clear by the vitriol at which he was talking about people who felt a certain way and how like disgusting they were. I was listening to him and I was saying, so I am friends with you. I like you. And if you knew how I felt about this particular subject, you would hate me.
Yeah.
And like, so we're laughing and there's a funny nature to it too, but it's actually
sad,
really sad.
Really
and I'm
sad.
like, you would hate me. We both like each other and we talk to each other all the time, but it's very clear by what you just said that you would hate me. And it was so disturbing.
Yeah.
And I just see more and more of it. And, I think I want my son to be in a place where you should be able to share and have different ideas and talk about them and leave. And just because a person feels a particular way about something should not determine whether you like that person or not. It's become really unhealthy. Yeah. And now the business case here is like Basecamp, right? I think the solution is for us as a society to stop doing that. But as a result, Basecamp turned around and says, no political discussions in our office. Yeah. We're not doing it. We're not having social groups about this topic, and we're not going to, that's it. We're here to code, or we're here to build buildings. We're here to do this. That's what we're going to do. And it's sad that it comes to it, but from a business standpoint, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. I had another post. I don't think we called it out here for one of the ones to talk about special interests kind of wanting. It was kind of a form of counsel to younger people. Like, there's a million special interests that want you to carry their water for them in the workplace. Stop. Let's get back to doing business. My people here will tell you all the time. We do not follow the flavor of the day here ever. We're about doing the business that we're in. This is not about social activism here. This is not about, that's not how I view business, right? We're here to create extraordinary places to live. If what we're doing doesn't go to that, stop it, right? And I think that what's happening at Basecamp, and there's a couple of other examples too, where they're just saying, all right, listen, we're done. We're done supporting political organizations. We're done with political speech in the office. We're done with all of this divisive stuff, because far from it being what it was even 20 years ago, which was meaningful discourse among respectful friends that actually broadened people's views. And maybe through that discourse, I would think about things that I hadn't thought about, and you would think about things you hadn't thought about. What it's just become is just like violently divisive right now. And it's poison. And it's poison for culture. And you don't want that. And I feel for society. And your point about your son, like I look at my boys and I'm like, what a wacky world, right? I grew up in a very kind of diversity of thought, for sure, among my friend group and my parents' friend group and the peer group growing up. And now I feel like that's becoming more and more and more insular. And even when we don't want it, you have to play that game in some ways, right? And I'm starting to refuse. I'm more convinced than ever that the group is wrong. And it becomes our role as parents to make the right decisions for our family, and the heck with what everybody else thinks. It becomes our role as leaders and business owners to make the right decision for our business and our team, and the heck with what everybody else thinks. I don't care what they think, right? We have a responsibility to our people, whether that's business, whether that's home, whether that's family, whether that's neighborhood. We have a responsibility to our people to be genuine, to be empathetic, and to put forward the good piece of this, the good values here, not this divisive crap that society is pushing.
Yeah. And I think going back to the contrarian nature or the, how are you saying it, not giving into the groupthink, today's society would tell you that they want a business that has a cause. Every business should have a cause, and we should be having an impact. I feel the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a business to edit video. There's a business there to build buildings. In some businesses, if you're a B Corp and you want to do that, but 99% of the businesses should do their business. And then if someone wants to, their employees want to do something after work, go do it,
business.
do your thing. But we're here to do what we set up a business to do. And I even feel that way about even a lot of like charities and stuff like that that businesses give to. Like, I don't necessarily think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to say, hey, listen, we want to give away this much money this year. Here's 10 grand. We're going to divvy it amongst employees, and you can give it to whatever you want in your community. Okay, great. But like trying to take a stand and say that our company is about, you know,
Whatever.
impacting this, like I think that's a mistake.
I would agree.
You know, like I don't care. I mean, obviously I don't want the company that I'm buying something from to be doing egregious things.
Correct.
But once we're past a baseline of are they not, you know, having slave labor and, you know, strip mining with children? If they're not doing that, like I don't, you know, I'm not concerned where my computer or, you know, sneakers or wherever come from.
And I think at least from my perspective, a lot of that comes down to an unhealthy level of kind of virtue signaling to solve something in here, right? I feel badly about something about me, and I'm going to solve for that with some externality and some cause that I'm going to attach myself to. And some of these causes are good causes, but I think we have blurred the lines in an extremely unhealthy way between business and culture. Businesses have to exist in culture, but they are still there to be a business, right? We are fiduciaries. We lost sight of that. These new we're going off on a complete tangent. There's these new ESG rules that were just released for federal retirement plan managers. So for the entire time that the federal retirement system has been in existence, investment managers in that system have been required to make decisions as a fiduciary in the best interests of their shareholders and their retirement plan participants to make them the most money for retirement, right? Like, let's just not mince words. Their goal has been make the most money possible within the confines of the law, be a fiduciary, grow the account as much as possible. The new rules say you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to make decisions around what's the best interest of your client as long as they're in the best interest of the environment and social justice. Laudable goal completely turns the system on its head. Right? This is people's future. This is people's retirements, right? You know, most people are concerned about, can I live and pay my bills in retirement, not whether that money was invested in Chevron or Tesla, right? And now we're introducing all of these other factors into a decision-making matrix that actually impacts people's lives. You want to invest, you personally, and say, hey, I'm not going to invest in fossil fuels. I'm not buying stock in Chevron. More power to you. But as soon as you're responsible for my retirement and Chevron's a good investment and you say, I'm not investing in that, right? Now we've got a problem. Because now you've lost that fiduciary responsibility and people's lives are actually being impacted.
Yeah. And it's funny, you could say that might be something that you could do, right? If everything was clean.
Correct.
But the problem is you look at I have a good friend that's in that space and is a green, sustainable nut as they come. But she will say the ESG rating systems are a joke. In the politics, you can play games to get around them. There can be horrible companies that are doing horrible things and get really high ESG ratings. So it's a flawed system to begin with. So to say that we're not going to have you comply with your fiduciary responsibility to try and benefit the environment, but you've got a broken environment system, then, you know, where are we going here? It's almost like, and that's where it's about not going with the groupthink. Because you look at the live golf thing. I don't know if I'm not a guy. I don't like golf. I don't follow it.
I'm very familiar with it. Yeah.
And, you know, there's all this backlash about the Saudis being involved with that. Okay. But if everybody else wants to, you know, Saudis own 75% of that company over there. You're all invested in that company. Yeah. That company runs commercials on your things.
Right.
Like,
it elevates
stop that.
It elevates
like
a level
pick and choose
of
what we're gonna,
exactly. It elevates a level of hypocrisy. right? So I serve on a couple of boards, and I've been on either led or been on the investment committees for a couple of larger nonprofits and handle their endowments. And in that world, it becomes very ESG's like front and center. And it becomes socially responsible investing becomes a big piece of it. So in our investment policy statements, in a lot of these cases, it'll say, you know, the endowment's not allowed to make investments in fossil fuels or in this or in this or in that. What happens is it becomes so restrictive and so hypocritical that you actually can't invest in anything.
You can't buy an index fund.
You can't buy an index fund. You can't buy an ETF. You can't buy a typical mutual fund, right? Because it might own 1% of Remington Firearms, right? And then suddenly we're not allowed to own a gun manufacturer. We're not allowed to own a gas company. We're not allowed to own Caterpillar, because Caterpillar provides machines to the strip mining companies, right? Like it's such a hairy ball that at the end of the day, you can't do anything, right? And what people do is they just ignore it, and it's hypocritical. Right? Either you're going to say this stuff really matters, and I'm going to stake all my reputation on this, and I'm going to live in cash. Okay, good. I respect that. I respect that. But as soon as you start to say, well, I'll do this but not this, and this but not this, right? Now you're in this gray area of what I see as just rife with hypocrisy. I think a lot of those goals are good goals. I mean, we were talking earlier, I'm the last person to set a bunch of ESG goals, but, you know, we built the largest LEED Platinum building in New England, right? You know, there's a lot of stuff that we do because we think it's smart business. I'm not doing it because of the pitchforks outside, right? Or because of the groupthink, right? There's things that are smart business. We do all electric buildings all the time. It's not because I hate fossil fuels. It's because it's financially a good decision, and it's a good decision to operate the building, and it's efficient for my residents. And my mission here is to create extraordinary places to live. So it feeds that mission. It's not because I'm afraid of what the Boston Globe's going to write about the newest ESG standards, right? And it's not that I have an issue with any of that. I think it's become such an issue in terms of the groupthink that it controls what everyone thinks, right? You could take a look at any major corporation's Instagram or Facebook page and align it with a calendar and with a newspaper of like public events, and it's complete groupthink, right? Everyone's got to post about everything at the same time. Right? Oh, this day is this day, and this day celebrates that day, and this day this happened in the world, and we all made a post about this. Right? It's complete.
It's a herd. It's a herd.
It's a herd. It's a complete,
herd of cattle.
It's a complete herd, and they're just running as a herd. And it's like, wait a minute, guys. Like, let's get back to the business of doing business.
And you know what's wild? That gets done by everybody out of fear, and it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares
about your random post. And it's funny, like I forget what holiday it was, and I'm like, whether it was New Year, I'm like, a company can't wish you Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Right? Like a person can.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just stop with the Happy New Year from XYZ company. Like your company can't do that. And the amount of people are like, yes, like this is so stupid, but every single one is like happy. That's like, okay, no. And we talked about it. I'm like, it's lazy marketing on top of it. Cause you're just like, oh, hey, what's the thing that I can put out? I need to put some content out
post.
that here's, and it's just like, it's garbage. It's just getting recycled.
Completely.
Don't
follow the herd.
Yeah.
In summary, don't follow the herd.
Yeah. Don't follow the herd.
Group think bad. Individual think good.
Yeah. And I know you're trying to wrap this, but I'm just fucking not going to let it go. When you talk about mandating, and that's where my beef is, right? When we're going to mandate that some business operates this way because for political reasons. Here's the thing: if some individual, like there was, I don't know if they still exist. It used to be like Christian mutual funds.
Yep.
Pro-life things. They won't invest in like Playboy, any of the sin stocks. No gambling, no sex,
smoking,
no this, whatever. Right?
Sure. Great.
Won't invest in anything.
That's an option for you.
If that's your thing,
do it.
Go for it. And if your thing is the environment and you want to invest only in companies that are finding new ways to recycle and eliminate plastics and get rid of PCBs or whatever you think, love it. Go for it. But the problem is when we hop in and we try and mandate, and especially when they're imperfect things, and mandate it across the board, and it's really muddy on what actually the right thing is to do, and we're forcing people to do things that 5 years from now we might realize, like, oops, yeah, you know how we made the whole country do this? Yeah,
Probably
we just
wasn't
realized
smart.
that was really a bad thing, and we actually damaged the environment. Oops.
Yeah.
So yeah, groupthink. Don't do it.